Can we just do this? Hey, can we just do this sitting down?
Stand up.
Lily.
Stand up. What happened to your foot? You can't stand now?
You don't even have money on it.
I'm a girl scout.
Oh, dang it. Wait, are you doing your Girl Scout project?
Yeah.
Yeah? And what if I hit that one?
Wait, can we please do this sitting down?
Yeah, I would like to.
Fine.
Carolyn, come back.
Not stopping.
I really want something to eat.
Oh, so do I.
Alright, Mei-Mei, just start.
I just kind of took the rest.
As the leader of the affirmative team, I strongly affirm the resolution that Tunisia deserves its label as the poster nation for post-Arab Spring democracies. Now, because this is a slightly generalized topic, we're going to provide some clarifying definitions before introducing the the points of the affirmation team. Okay. First, we define Tunisia as the Middle Eastern country. North African? Where is Tunisia? North African country. Okay. We define the poster nation as the very exemplification of of this post-Arab Spring democracy. We define the Arab Spring as the wave of demonstrations and protests in the Arab world that began in December of 2010 and ended in 2012. Obviously, post-Arab Spring means after the Arab Spring. Oh my God! Now, our first contention is that Tunisia exemplifies a compromise between religious and secular authorities. The ruling party before the Arab Spring in Tunisia was the Ennahda Party, which was a militant Islamic party. Wait, really militant?
No,
You told me they were militant.
I just said that they were.
Okay, fine. They were Islamist. However, after the Arab Spring protests in Tunisia, they did not encode Sharia law, and they compromised with grassroots political movements to form a parliament democracy that was representative of the people. What? What are you talking about? Carry on. Okay. So as you can see, Tunisia is the very exemplification of compromise and peaceful work between parties, which is necessary for democracy. And our second contention is that the Tunisian government respects the people and their rights. Of course, legitimate government requires the consent and the votes of the people, and listens to their rights and performs its responsibility for the people. This is exactly what the leaders of Tunisia have been doing. They have resisted the temptation of authoritarianism after the Arab Spring, and they have formed a representative democracy. And so, for these two reasons, that they show an excellent compromise between religious and secular authorities, and because they respect the people and their rights, I strongly urge an affirmative vote.
Right. Meg, go.
That's okay.
Who's going first?
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So as a brief off-time roadmap as to what I'll be going over, I'll first be going over some refutations to my opponent's contentions. Then I will be going over our own independent contention. So I strongly negate the resolution that Tunisia deserves its label as the poster nation for post-Arab Spring democracy. So, the affirmative team's first contention was that of the fact that Tunisia's current democracy helps these compromises between religious parties. However,
Just as a point of clarification, their democracy is not a. You know what? It doesn't matter.
Speaking of democracy not being something, they said a parliament democracy.
Yes, it is.
And
With like a 3% speech, I don't think it asks questions, right?
You can.
all right. So Tunisia helps the compromises between religious parties. parties, but our refutation to that is these religious parties also include members of ISIS, and that is not
Also, I'm double entering on question, so I
okay.
them again. So now Miss BMAC has
Is
three
that it
forms,
protects
one of which is
people's rights.
wrong.
However, Tunisia has been known to has been in political turmoil and has been known to often change their form of government after the dictator that was ruling for more than 20 years fell. And so now we'll be going over our
And that's a refutation how?
Although they may be protecting people's rights, this may not stay because the president or the current president has a lot of pressure to be a strong democratic leader. However, in order he may be to be a strong democratic leader and to set a precedent as compared to the U.S. He will have to be a strong president, meaning that it may become a dictatorship, proven or according to past events. So our first contention is that as well. So
Can you please clarify what these past events are?
past events. Okay. So Zine Abidine Ben Ali was a dictator of Tunisia for more than 20 years, and so after he was felled, the country has been transitioning politically ever since he was overthrown, and this may prove that the country may not stay as a democracy. So our first contention is that Tunisia is not going to stay a democracy, according to these past events that I have just mentioned. Also, as I had stated previously, the president is pressured to be a strong democratic leader. So going on to my ISIS stuff, Tunisia's political chaos gave Islamist extremists a space. No, this is all my first contention. So Tunisia's political chaos. I could transition smoothly. Okay. Anyway, Tunisia's political chaos gave Islamist extremists a space to thrive. According to Huffington Post, over 3,000 Tunisians have joined ISIS, and also Ansar al-Sharia was an Al-Qaeda affiliate, and he had a strong presence within Tunisia. So for these reasons, that Tunisia may be a space to thrive for ISIS, which is a current conflict against the U.S., and may not set a good precedent as a democracy. I strongly negate the resolution that Tunisia deserves its label as a poster nation for post-Arab Spring.
Alright, Grace, go.
Alright, so timer. I'll just steal this game. Alright. So I strongly affirm today's resolution that Tunisia deserves its label as the poster nation for post-Arab Spring democracies. I'll first begin by refuting my opponent's refutations to our case and then moving on to theirs. Our first point was that compromise between secular and religious authorities in Tunisia was that represented a model that all other Arab Spring countries could do well to follow. That the give and take of power between the two was the hope for the future. My opponent refuted this by insinuating that ISIS was the one ruling Tunisia and that all of the members of the Islamist party there were members of ISIS. I find that insinuation shocking and reprehensible. The members of the Ennahda party are upstanding, lawful citizens that want the best for their country and by no means members of a terrorist organization. And you need to firmly reject that, Judge, because it's pretty ridiculous. I want to our second contention now that because the government respects the rights of the people, it also presents a model that the rest of the Arab Spring democracies could do well to follow. My opponent pointed out that a strong leader could lead a slippery slope into not a democracy. However, I'd like to point out that strong leaders can be part of democracies as well. A strong leader doesn't mean a dictatorship. It's possible to have power within the constraints of a democracy. Right now, the multi-party parliament, which was worked together after compromise and drafting constitutions that guaranteed equality for all, man or woman, regardless of religion, believe in that foundation of peace and equality. Oh, shoot. I'm going to answer Dad. Okay. The first contention was that it won't stay a democracy because of ISIS' presence in Tunisia. They said that 3,000 entire Tunisians members of ISIS. So obviously, I don't have time. The entire country of Tunisia was riddled with these terrorists. I'd like to point out 3,000 entire people. Wow. The United States has a lot of people who are involved in white supremacist groups. But that does not change the fact that the United States is a democracy. Rather, it is the fact that these people, terrorists, are present within Tunisia that points to the fact that it is a democracy because it allows for the freedom of belief. No! I know this is going to be ridiculous. For our second contention. My opponents had said that a strong leader obviously meant that Tunisia would no longer be a democracy. However, as I've gone over, that isn't the case. It's possible to have a strong leader within democracy. And furthermore, the foundations of the Constitution and the Parliament will not allow for this. It's simple facts. And for this reason, we should win.
Great. Carolyn, go.
I just don't like that we win because
Yo. Serena, Elaine was looking for you. Go talk to Elaine. She wants help writing Congress speeches, and I do not wish to lead her astray. What? I don't know how to write Congress speeches.
oh my god.
You can either teach me and I can teach her later, or you can teach her. She's over there. Alright, Carolyn, go. Tequila walked in and walked out again.
I know, but I love nuggets so much.
Carolyn. If you don't talk louder, you have to stand up.
Where'd they go?
Okay, and then for our refugees, there's our reputation by saying that this is symbolic action and that people may think it's now moving on to our own Tunisia isn't going to stay a democracy because the country has been transitioning politically since its dictator for more than 20 years, and also Tunisia's political chaos gave Islamist extremists a space to thrive. 3,000 Tunisians have joined ISIS, and this is from the Huffington Post. Also, Ansar al-Sharia is an al-Qaeda affiliate, had a strong presence in Tunisia, and the affirmative team had no refutation for this. So, for all these reasons, I strongly urge
Bingo. Claire, give your speech. We're skipping Mei-Mei's. Actually, no, Grace, give Mei-Mei's speech.
Okay.
Yeah, Claire, go.
So, in this speech, I will be going over voter issues, which are reasons why you, judge, should vote for the mediation team in
Serena.
this debate. So, the resolution was Tunisia deserves its label as the poster nation for the post-Arab Spring democracies, and I strongly negate this resolution. And I will now be going over voter issues. So our opponent seems to have dropped a reputation for our first contention, I believe, and
Okay. Oh, sorry. I was
excuse me. Okay. And they also were not. They also disregarded one of the things we had said, which was the fact that. They disregarded the facts of Tunisia's past history. Just to restate, Zine Al Abidine Ben Ali was a dictator of Tunisia for more than 20 years, and ever since he was taken out of power, Tunisia has been transitioning politically ever since, and so he cannot really establish that Tunisia will stay a democracy. Tunisia staying a democracy, or simply being a democracy, is more of a symbolic action than anything else. Meaning that it's almost like a placebo effect. Like people think it's good, however, people think Tunisia being a democracy is good. However, in reality, it really doesn't have much of an effect because it's not going to stay a democracy. Also, we had stated that the president of Tunisia will be pressured to be a strong democratic leader, to set a precedent and to rival against basically the democracy of the U.S. And having him become a strong leader, and knowing Tunisia's history of dictators, so him becoming a strong leader can very much lead to a dictatorship, no matter whether there's a parliament or yeah. Okay. So as we stated, 3,000 Tunisians have joined ISIS, and this is from Huffington Post. And Ansar al-Sharia, which was an Al-Qaeda affiliate, also had a strong presence in Tunisia, and this means that Tunisia is still very stable, unlike what many people think, and therefore we should not use Tunisia as an example for post-Arab Spring democracies. So I believe, the negation team in this debate has won on the point of clarity, and the fact that we didn't drop any of our opponent's points, and the fact that that we win this debate. So for these reasons, I strongly urge a negation vote or ballot for this. Thank you.
Once you voting issues, we forgot to set a criteria.
Just say the implied criteria in parliamentary debate.
Okay.
I do it all the time.
I thought it would be a point of order, so I said that she would drop the criteria.
If by the end it hasn't been brought up, just say applied. Everyone knows it's applied anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Today a very sleepy day.
So I need
Today's a sleepy day. Alright, go.
I'll just believe myself. Alright, so I strongly affirm today's resolution that Tunisia deserves its label as the poster nation for post-Arab Spring democracies. I'll first begin by addressing quickly my opponent's voter issues and moving on to now. My opponent's voter issue was that of a dropped contention, which frankly does not exist in the first place. My opponent claimed that they dropped their first contention that Tunisia would not stay a democracy because of ISIS's presence. However, judges should look at your flow and clearly remember that I addressed this by talking how 3,000 Tunisians does not an entire country make, and how these same problems exist in America, and how this actually reflects Tunisia's real status as democracy. So either my opponent has zoned out for the last 1 minute and 20 seconds of my speech, or they're wrong. I'm going to go with the latter. He also pointed out that we were disregarding the past history. I'm going to refute this by simply saying, as I've brought up again and again throughout my speech, that they're disregarding the present. They're disregarding the collaboration, the multi-party parliament, and all of these great things that have happened since, but refusing to look at the progress that they've made through dooming Tunisia to stay in the past. And Judge, you cannot vote for that. Finally, they brought up again that Tunisia apparently is not an actual democracy. It is. I don't really know what to say other than it is, because that's the facts of today's round. My opponent also once more brought up that the president would have pressures to be, and I quote, a strong democratic leader. So, Judge, contradiction. How on earth would you pressures for you to be a strong democratic leader turn you into a dictator. Obviously, my opponents do not know the definition of democracy. Move on to their second contention, that Tunisia was unstable. And again, apparently 3,000 Tunisians joining ISIS apparently meant the inevitable demise of democracy and all that is good and holy within Tunisia. Okay, first of all, sensationalist. Second of all, frankly, incorrect. As I brought up in my speech, 3,000 Tunisians does not mean that ISIS is riddling Tunisia. It means that 3,000 Tunisians are part of ISIS. The United States has white supremacy. The United States has people whose beliefs that others may disagree with. For God's sakes, the United States even has a couple people who left to be part of ISIS. This does not mean that the United States is not a democracy and not a shining beacon of hope for everyone who loves freedom. So clearly we can disregard that as well. And my first voter issue is that of adhering to the criteria, which is implied as net benefits in today's debate. The negation was clearly able to prove on both of their points that I don't really know how to do net benefits for a fact debate.
You proved your side more.
We improved our side through actually focusing on the present instead of looking at something that happened years ago. And
Just call that
I
done.
really don't want to do voters.
Just go. You're done.
Okay.
It was 2 minutes
Thank you.
anyways.
My voter issues, I got really lazy.
Yeah, you both did. All right, I'm going to give you a